So I typically don't review TV shows on my channel that often, but with Channel Zero No End House, I've noticed that no one's talking about this show. I mean, you'll probably be hard-pressed to find anyone who's even heard about it. I found out about it from the most generic means possible. I was on the Sci-Fi Channel, I saw a commercial for it, and I said, that looks really good, I can't wait to see it. I mean, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube aren't really blowing up with this kind of no-end house content, so it sucks. It really does, because I love this show. I think it deserves recognition. It is my favorite piece of horror entertainment that has come out this year, and I sincerely mean that. It is very good. Because it's not just another throwaway horror show that suffers from a cheap budget, crappy cinematography and lighting, laughable actors, jump scares, that's always the one killer for me, and a boring, unimaginative story. It has very cool concepts in it, and I can remember many times watching the show and saying, I love the direction they took that in, or, oh, I did not expect that, and that's just downright creepy. Many moments like that happened for me when I was watching this. I think it's very damn good. So, with that being said, let me tell you my thoughts on Channel Zero No End House. One thing I really like about this story was how it's sort of like Silent Hill, if you've ever played 1 through 4, the ones I'm talking about, where it exists in this bubble of reality, where the rules in our world do not apply to the rules in that world. Some people go to this place because they want to make peace with something that's happened in their life, want to just live there because they think the house is benefiting them, or they just want to get the hell out because the No End House, as much as it wants to look like it's your friend, not really your friend. It is actually very harmful to you. One really cool thing they do with the psychological horror aspect of this was it actually affects characters. Like Amy Fortson's character, Margot, that's the one that really affects. She goes through the arc of finding out things about her past, learning things about herself, and just trying to become a better person. You know, she kind of goes through an arc. But as the house affects her and her way of thinking and her kind of distortion of reality, it really shows a lot about her character in the process. It does a lot of subtle things with her character. It shows me this is kind of how she thinks, or this little thing is something that is specific to her. And I don't think I really need to mention the acting in the show. I think that can just speak for itself if you see the show. It is phenomenal. Characters react exactly like I thought a human being would kind of act. They act in this realistic manner. Sometimes it could be argued they don't act in a specific way that I think a human being who is thrust into a situation like this would react. Sometimes I said, you know what, probably wouldn't do that if I was trapped in this house. But then some other times I said, yep, that's pretty much what I'd be doing right now. And Aisha Dee's character, Jules, I like her dynamic with Margot. She kind of plays the friend that's been around ever since she was a childhood friend, but then she kind of leaves for a bit, but then comes back. And then she's like, hey, let's go to the No End House with some of my friends. It's going to be fun, right? But she also has some inner demons too, much like Margot. And the house exploits all that. That's the one thing this house really does to characters in the show. It really exploits the little things you think about. The tiny little things you take for granted, the thing could just manifest on you and then kind of make you question yourself at the same time. Really like that, and I really like her character, but one thing I kind of wish they would have focused on more about her character was her character herself, really. The majority of the runtime spent on Margot and how she thinks, but I think Jules has a pretty cool personality and interesting character. Sometimes they don't focus on her enough, and I say, oh, well, I kind of want to know more about her. She's kind of a little bit more interesting in the scene right now. Some slight little gripes with her character. But then sometimes a lack of character really helps the story out, like with Sebastian Piggott's character Dylan and with Jeff Ward's character Seth. Sebastian Piggott's character Dylan a bit more because he enters the show with this sort of like interesting mystery going on about him. He's got a backpack on and he's telling people they should probably just walk out of the house right now. Already that shows me that he has some history with this house and what's going on. He knows what he's doing. He's prepared for this. I like how they introduce that this house has been around. It has history with some people. It's building the world of this house, but also making it a bit cryptic. But I think the biggest show stealer here was John Carroll Lynch. He plays Margaret's dad, and if you've ever seen the movie Zodiac, I'm sure you know who John Carroll Lynch is. He had, in my opinion, the most interesting character in the show. He had so many layers to his character. He affected many of the characters. Not all of them, but almost all of them. I honestly didn't expect him to have a huge part in the story. I thought he would just show up for a couple scenes and then leave. Not the case at all. In fact, he's a show stealer. I can't say anything really about him. I want you to go in blind, figuring out who he is. It's really freaking interesting, and I love John Carroll Lynch in this show. So now that I'm finished with the story and characters, I have to say this. The cinematography presented in this show is absolutely stunning. It is better than most movies, and I really mean that. Especially when they enter the no-end house, and then they're like this filter or this coloration starts to appear around the suburb. And it's all orangish, and you can tell it's not like the reality they live in, where it's all like normal colored and sort of slightly bluish. Love that. Love that little detail. And aerial shots of the suburbs. Perfect. Lighting, especially with this like orb thing. I don't know what it exactly is. I don't know if it has a name. But this orb thing, there's a specific shot where one of the characters enters the basement and they see this giant orb thing. And the lighting in that scene presented is just, that is the stuff I love. Perfect cinematography in a great horror show or anything horror related. And the pans in this show. This show has absolutely perfect pans. And I don't mean like pans you cook with. I meant like cinematography pans where you move left and right and around. That kind of stuff. This show never cuts away before a pan looks actually good and I can recognize this is a good pan. I live for stuff like that. I'm always a sucker for a good pan. Sorry if I said pan too much. And the soundtrack, nothing really blew my mind. It was an eerie soundtrack. It did its job. You know, it's not something groundbreaking. It's not something I'll probably remember. It was good. I'll say that. So that about covers it. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. It is a damn good show. If you are not watching it, please fix that, you know? It's perfect binge length. It's only 6 episodes. That's like 6 hours long. Perfect binge length in my opinion. Watch it with a boyfriend, a girlfriend. Have them tell their friends. Maybe this can get mainstream appeal, and then we can get 9 more seasons of this, you know? Wouldn't 9 more seasons be great? Thank you for the internet view, and I will see you for the next internet thing I make, peeps. Peace out.